At 5:48 on a Friday afternoon, Daniel Hayes knelt beside a blue Mustang on County Road 9 while 3 trucks passed without slowing. The drivers laughed through open windows at his faded work jacket and the rust above the rear wheel of his pickup. 8-year-old Lily's science display lay across his back seat. The school gym opened in 42 minutes, and Daniel had promised he would be there before judging began. The woman beside the Mustang held a phone with no signal and watched steam drift from beneath the hood. "You should go," she said. "You have somewhere important to be." Daniel looked at the empty road, the approaching heat and coolant running toward the shoulder. "I have time to make certain you are not stranded in traffic. I do not have time to pretend this engine can be fixed safely with a bottle of water." Her name was Claire Morgan. She did not mention that she founded Prairie Line Agricultural Systems, the largest farm automation company in Texas. Daniel did not mention that he had once studied mechanical design before grief, debt, and fatherhood narrowed his plans. He saw a traveler with a damaged cooling hose. She saw a mechanic who refused to turn kindness into performance. Neither knew that the cracked hose was the smallest failure they would face together. Within 6 weeks, a hidden defect in Claire's newest irrigation controller would threaten farms across Willow Creek, and the man kneeling in the dust would be blamed for discovering it. Daniel asked Claire to move behind the guardrail while he set reflective triangles at a safe distance. He waited for the system to cool, photographed the split hose, and called the repair shop from a point where his phone found 1-bar service. "Mike, can you send the flatbed? County 9, marker 14. "You know what time it is?" his coworker asked. "I know exactly what time it is." Daniel texted Lily's teacher before the signal disappeared. Roadside repair could have started the Mustang, but a temporary patch might fail under pressure. Daniel explained the choice rather than trying to impress Claire with speed. "The tow will cost less than an overheated engine," he said. "You can wait in my truck with the air conditioning while I stay near the car." Claire studied him. "You are trusting me inside your truck. The truck is insured. You are not safe beside this lane." She laughed for the first time that afternoon. While they waited, Claire's phone connected long enough for a call from Grant Mercer, Prairie Line's chief operating officer. "The launch committee is waiting," he said through the speaker. "The governor's office want confirmation that the Field Corps controller ships Monday." "Quality has not closed the heat cycle review," Claire replied. "One lab asked for another week. Every production unit passed specification. Do not let engineers turn caution into a business model." Daniel looked away. The conversation was not his to enter, but one product name caught his attention. Field Corps controllers operated pumps on several farms serviced by his shop. Claire ended the call and found him checking the tow estimate. "You know Field Corps? I know the older units. The new ones have not reached our county yet. They will on Monday." Daniel nodded. "Then I hope the heat test is finished first." There was no accusation in his voice. That made the sentence harder for Claire to dismiss. The flatbed arrived at 6:22. Daniel wrote the shop address on a card, listed the tow company's rate, and charged nothing for the roadside inspection. Claire offered cash. "Send the invoice to the name on the vehicle registration," she said. "The shop will invoice the tow and repair. I did not replace a part out here. You gave me your time. Then next time you see someone stranded, give them enough safety to call a professional. That settles it." Daniel reached the school gym 8 minutes after judging began. Lily stood beside a model greenhouse made from clear plastic, drinking straws, and a small pump. A red ribbon lay on the next table. "I am sorry," he said. "I stopped for a disabled car and sent your teacher a message." Lily looked at the empty chair beside her display. "You promised before judging." "I did. I broke the promise, even for a reason I still believe was right." He did not ask her to forgive him immediately or turn his choice into a lesson about kindness. He listened while she explained that the pump jammed during her demonstration and she had fixed it alone. "I wanted you to see me do that," she said. "I wish I had. Tell me every part now, and I will not pretend that hearing it later is the same." Her anger softened but did not disappear. Daniel stayed until the custodian folded the final table. They carried the greenhouse to his pickup together. At home, Lily placed the model on the kitchen counter beside a stack of unpaid bills. Daniel reheated soup while she drew a second version of the pump. His wife, Maria, had died 4 years earlier after a sudden illness. Daniel had left an engineering technology program 1 semester before graduation to keep working and care for Lily. He told himself he would return when life became stable. Stability kept moving farther away. Willow Creek Repair paid enough for rent, groceries, and little else. The shop specialized in tractors, pumps, and farm vehicles. Daniel could diagnose machinery by sound, but experience without a degree rarely passed the automated filters of larger companies. Was the woman scared? Lily asked. She was frustrated, maybe a little scared. Did you tell her about my project? No. Helping her did not buy the right to make you part of the story. Lily considered that answer and moved one straw inside the greenhouse. Next time, call sooner. Next time I will. Across Texas, Grant Mercer opened the final launch dashboard. 32 lab tests appeared green. One amber heat cycle review sat below the fold. He changed the executive view to show completed tests only and sent Claire a screenshot with every visible box green. On Monday, field core shipped to 4 counties. On Tuesday, the first Willow Creek farmer brought a scorch controller into Daniel's shop. Tom Alvarez placed the black field core box on Daniel's workbench. It shut down the Southwell pump at noon, he said. The cattle trough was nearly empty before my son noticed. Daniel photographed the melted edge around a power connector without opening the sealed housing. The warranty label remained intact. He measured the farm's supply voltage, inspected grounding, and checked the pump load. Every reading stayed inside Prairie Line's installation limits. I can install the old manual controller until the manufacturer reviews this, Daniel said. Do not energize this unit again. Tom needed water more than an argument. Daniel fitted the temporary control and sent the serial number, photographs, load readings, and ambient temperature to Prairie Line's dealer portal. The first response arrived in 6 minutes. Probable installation surge. Claim denied pending customer-paid inspection. They answered before anyone could read the attachments, Mike said. Daniel resubmitted the report through the safety channel printed in the manual. By Thursday, 2 more field core units reached the shop. One had failed on a greenhouse ventilation system. Another reset repeatedly while controlling an irrigation pump. Both carried discoloration near the same connector. Daniel placed the 3 units several feet apart, labeled each chain of custody, and invited the county electrical inspector to verify his measurements. Mike watched him prepare the records. Prairie Line certifies this shop. If they say installation error, Mr. Carter will not want to fight. Farmers are asking us whether it is safe to restart. I cannot answer with a warranty code. The shop owner, Samuel Carter, called Daniel into the office before lunch. Prairie Line support says you are creating unnecessary alarm around a new product. They want all units shipped back unopened. They're unopened. I asked for a joint inspection. They also reminded me our dealer agreement renews next month. Samuel had spent 20 years building the shop. Losing Prairie Line certification could remove nearly 1/3 of its work. His fear was not cowardice, it was payroll. Daniel proposed a boundary. The shop would preserve the units, install temporary manual controls, and describe only observed facts to customers. No one would declare a fleet-wide defect before investigation. No one would tell farmers that scorched connectors were safe. Samuel agreed for 48 hours. That evening, Daniel took Lily to the public library because their home internet had been disconnected after a missed payment. She researched water conservation while he compared field core service bulletins. Are you doing homework too? She asked. Something like it. Do grown-ups get grades? Usually they get consequences without the useful number. Lily turned her screen toward him. My greenhouse pump stopped because the straw bent. I wrote that in the project report, even though it made your design look worse. It made the next design better. Daniel copied the sentence into his notebook without telling her it was profound. At Prairie Line headquarters, Claire received the Mustang invoice. It listed a standard hose replacement, towing, coolant, and labor. No special charge and no unpaid favor appeared. She paid it through her personal account and sent a handwritten thank you to the shop. Then a separate report reached Dr. Maya Torres, Prairie Line's Director of Product Safety. 3 Willow Creek incidents shared a connector location, heat exposure, and recent production dates. Maya requested raw lab data. Grant sent her the executive dashboard instead. I asked for the failed and incomplete cycles, she said. The completed units passed. Field installations are showing voltage contamination. The field reports include stable voltage records from a mechanic without manufacturer training on field core. Maya called the shop directly. Daniel answered from the library hallway and described only what he had measured. When she asked whether he knew Claire, he disclosed the roadside repair. Maya documented the contact and informed the board quality committee. Claire recused herself from decisions about Daniel's report, compensation, or any future role. She remained responsible for product safety decisions affecting all customers. Do not reject useful evidence to prove I did not favor him, Claire told Maya. Do not accept it because I met him either. Test it. Maya scheduled a field inspection for Saturday and invited Grant, the county inspector, the affected farmers, and the connector supplier. Grant arrived in a polished sport utility vehicle with 2 lawyers and a communications manager. Daniel arrived in his old pickup with the 3 sealed units and handwritten load tables. Where is your engineering credential? Grant asked before introductions ended. Daniel set the county inspector's signed measurements on the table. Not inside these readings. Maya opened 1 unit under recorded conditions. The power connector's retaining force was below specification. Heat had softened the surrounding polymer, increasing resistance and producing more heat. The cycle could accelerate even under normal voltage. Grant pointed to dust inside the enclosure. The installation environment exceeds laboratory conditions. The product is sold for agricultural environments, Daniel said. It is sold for installation by trained dealers. This shop installed all 3 according to your manual. Maya stopped the argument and ordered tests on unused units from the same production lot. At the end of the day, she placed an immediate hold on that lot, but did not recall every field core controller. Evidence supported a contained risk. The wider scope remained unknown. Grant waited until Claire left the inspection area, then handed Samuel a notice suspending the shop's Prairie Line certification for unauthorized product disassembly. Daniel looked at the 3 warranty seals Maya had cut herself. The accusation was false, but the suspension took effect Monday. Unless they could reverse it, Willow Creek Repair would lose its largest account because Daniel had refused to call 3 scorched connectors normal. Samuel removed the Prairie Line sign from the front window before opening. 2 scheduled customers canceled within an hour. By noon, he cut every employee's week to 30 hours. I agreed to preserve the units, he told Daniel. I'm not blaming you for reporting. I'm telling you I may not be able to pay people while the company decides whether we are loyal enough. Daniel offered to use vacation hours instead of taking paid shop time. Samuel refused. Do not make yourself cheaper to solve retaliation you did not create. Help me document the loss. At home, Lily found Daniel calculating groceries beside the electricity bill. Is the shop closing? Not today. Our hours were reduced while a dispute is reviewed. Because of the burned boxes? Because someone says we broke one open before they arrived. We did not. Can a video show them? Daniel looked at her. Maya had recorded the inspection from the moment the units entered the room. The next morning, he requested the chain of custody video through the dealer appeal process. Maya had already preserved it. The footage showed all 3 seals intact until she cut them at the inspection table. Grant argued that the notice had been prepared from an early field summary and issued before he saw the video. Maya displayed the notice timestamp. He had signed it 90 minutes after the first unit was opened in front of him. The quality committee restored the shop's certification immediately and reimbursed documented labor lost during the suspension. It also opened a retaliation review separate from the product investigation. Claire did not make the ruling or deliver the news personally. Samuel rehung the sign. We recovered 4 days, he told Daniel. Trust will take longer. Prairie Line tested 40 and used controllers. 9 connectors fell below retention specification after repeated thermal cycling. The supplier had changed a molding tool, and incoming inspection measured dimensions without testing clamping force after heat exposure. Prairie Line's lab had seen 2 early failures, but Grant classified both cycles as setup anomalies and launched before the repeat test finished. The company recalled the affected lot and sent temporary manual controls to farms with critical water or ventilation loads. The next question was how to repair more than 600 units before a forecast heat wave arrived. Maya formed a paid technical group with Prairie Line engineers, the connector supplier, dealer technicians, and farmers. Selection was based on relevant equipment experience. Daniel qualified through 12 years of field work and the evidence package he submitted. Claire disclosed their roadside contact and stayed out of scoring. Grant objected at the first meeting. We are giving design authority to a dealer mechanic who did not finish his degree. Maya pointed to the agenda. No individual has design authority. The group proposes, the lab verifies, quality releases. Daniel, has field experience the original review lacked? Daniel did not ask Claire to defend him. He opened his notebook. The engineers proposed replacing the entire connector assembly. The fix was robust, but required parts that would take 5 weeks to manufacture. Daniel suggested a stainless retaining clip that increased contact force and could be installed without replacing the control board. He built the first sample for material available at the shop. In a bench test, resistance remained stable through 200 heat cycles. The group advanced it to vibration and dust testing. Claire watched results through normal quality reports. She wanted to visit the lab, but accepted Maya's instruction that her presence could make engineers defend the favored idea instead of challenge it. At home, Daniel spread non-confidential sketches across the kitchen table. Lily worked beside him on a new greenhouse pump. "Is this your invention?" she asked. "It is one possible repair. A team is trying to prove where it fails." "Why would you want it to fail?" "Because a cheap failure in a test room is better than an expensive one on a farm." She wrote test first across the top of her own page. After 4 days, Daniel's clip passed heat, vibration, and installation trials. Prairie Line authorized a limited field pilot on 20 non-critical pumps. Each site received temperature monitoring and a manual shutdown plan. The first 19 units performed normally. At the 20th site, a pump controller failed during a dust storm. The clip remained tight, but one sharp edge rubbed through insulation on an adjacent sensor wire. The controller shut the pump down to protect the motor. No one was injured, and a backup pump restored water within 11 minutes. The failure still belonged to Daniel's design. Grant entered the emergency review carrying photographs of the damaged wire. "This is what happens when sentiment replaces credentials," he said. A chief executive officer meets a helpful stranger, and suddenly his garage solution reaches our customers. Daniel felt every person in the room turn toward him. For 1 second, he wanted to explain that 19 units had passed and the shutdown had worked. Instead, he said the harder sentence. "The edge exists because I shaped the clip for easy installation and did not model movement near that wire." Stop the pilot. Inspect all 20 units. Maya ordered the hold. Daniel's access remained active because he reported the failure and preserved the evidence, but he lost authority to modify the prototype without an assigned design engineer. The heat wave was 4 days away. Prairie Line now had a defective original connector, a temporary repair that created a new risk, and 600 farms waiting for an answer. Grant offered the board one final solution. Cancel the recall, classify the original failures as a supplier lot exception, and ship replacement units only to customers who had already complained. If Claire accepted, the quarterly launch would survive. If she refused, Prairie Line would admit that its most celebrated product had entered the market before its evidence was ready. Claire read Grant's proposal in a board call that evening. "How many units outside the supplier lot use the same connector geometry?" she asked. "The failures are concentrated in one lot." "That was not my question." Maya answered. "All field core units use the geometry. We have not completed heat cycle sampling on the other lots." Claire looked at the green launch dashboard she had praised 1 week earlier. "The recall remains. Publish the affected serial range, the known failure mode, and the temporary operating guidance. Expand testing tonight." Grant muted himself, then returned. You are allowing one mechanic's mistake to turn a contained supplier issue into a national admission. Daniel's mistake is documented because his pilot was designed to reveal it. Our launch mistake reached customers because incomplete tests were hidden. Do not confuse the two. The company stopped new shipments and notified dealers before the market opened. Its share price fell. Several large customers demanded penalties. Clear did not describe the reaction as unfair. Prairie Line had created the uncertainty. The technical group worked through the night. Sophia Reyes, a Prairie Line design engineer, rounded the clip edge, added an insulating barrier, and moved the sensor wire. Daniel modified the installation tool so technicians could confirm clearance without seeing behind the board. Your tool assumes the installer can approach from the left, Sophia said. Most field boxes sit against a wall on that side, Daniel replied. The approach is usually from below. They rotated the tool, failed 2 access trials, and produced a third version that worked with gloves inside a dusty enclosure. Neither treated the other's knowledge as complete. The revised assembly still required 72 hours of testing. Farms facing immediate heat could not wait. Maya created a risk list based on livestock water, greenhouse ventilation, crop stage, backup capacity, forecast temperature, and distance from service. Dealer technicians would install manual controllers at the highest risk sites until verified parts arrived. Grant replaced the list with an account priority version that moved Prairie Line's largest corporate customer to the top. Willow Creek Cattle Farms fell below operations with lower safety exposure but higher revenue. Priya Desai, the inventory analyst, noticed the order quantities no longer matched Maya's risk table. She asked Grant's office for the change reason. Executive Customer Protection, his deputy replied. Priya preserved both versions and sent them to Maya. By Saturday morning, the temperature reached 104 degrees. Tom Alvarez called Daniel from the south pasture. The manual controller installed after the first failure was running, but a second field core unit on the north well had begun resetting. Daniel checked the risk portal. Tom's farm had been scheduled for a temporary control that morning. The shipment now showed reassigned. To where? Samuel asked. A corporate cotton operation with 3 backup wells. Samuel loaded the shop's last compatible manual controller into Daniel's pickup. It belonged to inventory reserved for emergency rental. If we install it without Prairie Line authorization, they may refuse reimbursement, Daniel said. The cattle need water before accounting needs a code. Document the decision. Daniel called Maya from the road. She authorized emergency installation under the recall and froze every further inventory reassignment. Lily's summer science program began its final demonstration at 10. Daniel had promised to help carry her greenhouse into the community hall. This time he called at 8:40 before she waited beside an empty chair. Tom's second well is failing in the heat, he said. I have to install the backup control. Mrs. Alvarez can drive you, and I can join by video if the signal works. I am sorry the plan changed. Lily was quiet. Are the cows out of water? Not yet. We're trying to keep it that way. Then call before my part starts. I will. Daniel and Mike reached the farm as the north pump stopped. The cattle still had 1 trough in the south well, but consumption was rising. They locked out the failed controller, verified absence of voltage, and installed the manual unit. The pump restarted at 9:37. At 9:50, Daniel stood beneath the shade of the pump shed and watched Lily explain her greenhouse through a video call. The screen froze twice. He heard every important sentence. She did not win first place. Her revised pump completed the full demonstration, and she showed the judges the bent straw from her first design. This is the failure that taught me where to look, she said. Daniel wrote the same sentence at the top of his field report. By noon, Maya had traced 7 inventory changes to Grant's office. His attorney argued that the chief operating officer had authority to protect strategic accounts during a shortage. Maya agreed that he had authority to allocate inventory, but the board-approved recall plan required safety priority. He had changed the criteria without disclosure. The issue joined the false shop suspension and altered launch dashboard in a formal review. Grant responded by circulating Daniel's failed clip photographs to investors without the test context. His message described the recall as an overreaction driven by Claire's personal connection to an unqualified mechanic. The tactic worked for several hours. News reports asked whether Prairie Line's chief executive officer had compromised product decisions to reward a man who repaired her car. Daniel found a reporter outside the shop when he returned from Tom's farm. Did Claire Morgan pay you to create the repair? Prairie Line paid every technical group member the same published rate for working hours, Daniel said. My prototype failed its field pilot. I reported why, and the pilot stopped. Product safety questions belong with the independent review. Are you in a relationship with her? No. She was a customer in a roadside emergency. Do not bring my daughter into a story about a connector. He entered the shop and closed the door. Claire's communications team proposed defending her with photographs of Daniel helping beside the Mustang. Claire refused. His kindness is not evidence that the product is safe, and his family is not our shield. Release the test chronology, the recusal record, and the inventory logs. The board scheduled a public quality briefing and a closed accountability hearing for Monday. Grant arrived with a polished presentation showing that 98% of field core units had never reported a failure. Daniel arrived with the failed clip, the damaged connector, and a question no percentage could answer. How many units have been tested under the heat now moving across Texas? Maya opened the public briefing before cameras, farmers, dealers, and employees. 98% without a reported failure is not the same as 98% proven safe under current conditions, she said. Many units have not reached the temperatures associated with the fault, and earlier reports were filtered after work orders closed. She displayed the complete chronology. 2 lab anomalies occurred before launch. Grant removed incomplete tests from the executive view. 3 field units showed connector damage. Daniel's retaining clip passed laboratory trials, then damaged a sensor wire during the limited pilot. Prairie Line stopped both the original product lot and the pilot repair when evidence required it. The failed prototype appeared on the same screen as the failed production connector. Daniel did not ask for gentler treatment because his design had been created with good intentions. Grant did not receive harsher treatment because he was an effective antagonist in a public story. Each decision stayed attached to its evidence. A farmer asked whether the revised repair was ready. Sophia answered, "Not today. It has completed heat and vibration tests. Dust, installation variation, and extended cycling remain. Critical sites should continue using approved manual controls until release." Another farmer asked who would pay. Claire stepped to the microphone. Prairie Line will pay reasonable recall labor, replacement parts, and verified losses covered by our warranty. Dealers will not surrender their right to report safety concerns in order to receive payment. She announced no gift for Daniel and no special project for Willow Creek. Every affected dealer received the same published process. The closed board hearing began that afternoon. Grant argued that Claire had rewarded Daniel from the moment he repaired her car. She ordered a product review after meeting him, placed him in a technical group, and defended his failed design. Maya corrected the sequence. The safety channel generated the review after 3 matching reports. A scored experience matrix selected the group. Maya, not Claire, stopped and later continued Daniel's access. Claire had recused herself from individual decisions involving him. Then why did she refuse my contained remedy? Grant asked. Because your remedy ignored untested lots using the same geometry, Maya said. Priya displayed the launch dashboard before and after Grant's filter. The amber heat cycle review vanished when he selected completed tests only. She showed the risk-based inventory list and his revenue-based replacement. Finally, the board watched the video proving that he suspended Willow Creek repair after seeing intact warranty seals. Grant turned to Claire. You wanted field core launched before the governor's announcement. You tied my incentive to the date. Could not deny it. I created schedule pressure and accepted a dashboard that made the answer look complete, she said. I asked whether quality had closed the review, then accepted your screenshot instead of asking Maya. My failure belongs in the record. You needed someone willing to make a decision. A decision is not strong because contrary evidence cannot reach it. The board terminated Grant for altering decision criteria without disclosure, retaliating against a reporting dealer, redirecting safety priority inventory, and distributing incomplete information to attack witnesses. It did not terminate him for challenging recall cost or advocating a launch date. Those disagreements were part of his role. Concealment and retaliation were not. Claire received a formal censure and lost her product launch incentive. The board required quality to report independently for 2 years and added unresolved test, recurrence, and field severity measures besides schedule and revenue. Outside the hearing room, Claire called Daniel. "Grant has left the company," she said. "The board also disciplined me. What happens to the farms?" The question reminded her why accountability could not end with executive consequences. Manual controls remain at critical sites. The revised repair continues testing. Dealers receive the complete service bulletin tonight. Then that is what matters next. The heat wave lasted 8 days. No livestock operation in the recall group lost water because dealers installed temporary controls according to the risk list. 2 greenhouses reported crop damage during brief shutdowns, and Prairie Line processed their claims without requiring public silence. The revised repair completed testing after Sophia added a formed edge, insulating guide, and inspection window. Daniel's installation tool became part of the service kit after technicians at 5 independent shops tested it from different access angles. Prairie Line credited every contributor on the technical release. Daniel received the same hourly group payment and a licensing fee for the tool design under a written agreement reviewed by his own attorney. Claire did not hand him a check or announce that kindness had earned a reward. At Willow Creek Repair, recall work filled the schedule for 3 months. Samuel hired a second apprentice and used ordinary shop revenue to replace the failing roof. When Prairie Line offered an equipment grant to regional dealers, the company used published criteria and an outside scoring panel. Willow Creek ranked 4th and received no grant. "Are you disappointed?" Mike asked. "The roof does not care," Daniel said. "We already paid for it." Lily drew a small red roof above the shop in her notebook. One opportunity remained. Prairie Line posted a field reliability specialist role connecting dealers, farmers, and design teams. The requirements allowed either an engineering degree or 10 years of documented technical experience. Daniel qualified, but Claire's prior contact created a conflict. She removed herself from the panel. Maya added an external agricultural engineer and a dealer representative. All finalists completed the same field diagnosis, design review, and communication exercise. Daniel applied only after reading the travel schedule with Lily and Samuel. The role required 2 overnight trips each month and allowed 2 days of remote work. He arranged backup care with Mrs. Alvarez and Lily's grandparents before the interview. "If they offer it, will you leave the shop?" Lily asked. 3 days a week. Samuel offered to keep me for the other 2 while Prairie Line's conflict policy allows it. "Will you still help with the greenhouse?" "Yes. You may be tired of my questions before I become too busy." That already happened. Daniel entered the assessment confident in field diagnosis and weak in formal design software. Another candidate, engineer Naomi Brooks, built a faster computer model. Daniel found 2 installation assumptions the model missed and explained the customer risk more clearly. Their final scores were separated by 1 point. The panel now had to choose between the candidate with stronger tools and the candidate with deeper field judgment. For Daniel, the result would decide whether his unfinished education remained a closed door or became one part of a larger record. The external engineer returned the panel to the posted priorities: field failure investigation, dealer communication, and design feedback. Daniel ranked first in 2 categories and second in modeling. Naomi ranked first in modeling and second overall. The panel selected Daniel by 1 point and documented the reason. It did not create another position for Naomi or ask her to celebrate losing. She received her scores, challenged 1 communication rating, and won a small correction that did not change the result. "I still think your diagnostic tree needs fewer words," she told Daniel after the decision. "I still think your model assumes every installer has 3 hands." They shook hands without pretending competition had become friendship. Daniel's offer included 6 months of software training and the same education benefit available to other specialists. He accepted and enrolled in one evening course to complete the degree he had left years earlier. Prairie Line did not give him an honorary credential or erase the work still required. His first week began at a dealer counter, not headquarters. He rode with technicians, watched farmers use the service portal, and asked which warning they stopped reporting because nothing returned. One dealer showed him 9 battery alerts closed as customer misuse. Another technician carried photographs on her personal phone because the portal compressed images until heat damage became impossible to see. Daniel and Priya changed the upload limit and created a visible response field. Every report displayed an owner, next action, and closure reason. A closed repair remained connected to earlier faults with the same part, condition, or symptom. Claire wanted the portal announced at the annual innovation meeting. "When will it be ready?" she asked. "It is ready to test," Daniel said. That is not the same as ready to praise. 1 year earlier, she might have interpreted the answer as hesitation. Now she asked what evidence would separate the two. They piloted the portal with 6 dealers, including none from Willow Creek. Daniel's home shop was excluded from the first group because his relationship could distort early feedback. Samuel disliked waiting but accepted the boundary. During the pilot, technicians discovered that owners closed reports too early to meet response targets. Priya changed the metric from time to closure into time to first action, repeated fault rate, and verified resolution. The dashboard looked worse for 2 months. The work became better. At home, Daniel's schedule remained imperfect. He studied software after Lily slept, traveled during one school week, and once joined a parent meeting from a motel room when weather canceled his return flight. He also kept Tuesdays. He picked Lily up, bought groceries, and listened to increasingly complex explanations of the greenhouse system now covering half their dining table. "The new pump shuts off when the soil is wet," she explained. "How do you know the sensor is right?" "I compare it with my finger." That method may need a more formal name. Human verification. Maria would have laughed. Daniel allowed the memory to feel warm without asking it to stop hurting. 6 months after the portal launched, 5 dealers reported swelling batteries inside Prairie Line soil sensors. No fire had occurred. All 5 reports were closed after replacement, but the recurrence alert grouped them before the next shipment. Daniel assumed heat exposure resembled the field core failure and recommended immediate battery replacement across the lot. A junior technician named Rosa Kim asked him to compare installation orientation. "All 5 sensors are mounted cable down," she said. "The units mounted sideways use the same battery and show no swelling." Daniel almost defended his first theory. His history gave him confidence, and the company now listened when he spoke. That combination could become another version of grant certainty if no one interrupted it. "Show me the seals," he said. Water had traveled along the cable into housings installed downward without a drip loop. The moisture corroded the charging circuit and overheated the battery. Replacing batteries alone would have returned the hazard. Prairie Line paused the shipment, revised the mounting bracket, and added a drip loop check to installation. Daniel credited Rosa in the report and documented that his initial recommendation had been incomplete. The incident never reached a dramatic failure. That was the success. At the next board meeting, Claire displayed the 5 original reports, Rosa's question, Daniel's changed conclusion, and a shipment hold. "This chart is not clean," she said. "It shows uncertainty, correction, and delay. It is also the first chart I trust without asking what disappeared." 1 year after the Mustang broke down, Claire drove County Road 9 again on her way to a dealer meeting. The repaired hose held, but a minivan stood on the shoulder with hazard lights flashing. A family waited behind the guardrail. Claire stopped at a safe distance, called roadside assistance, and offered sealed water while they waited. She did not open the hood or attempt a repair she was not trained to make. The driver asked for her name. "Claire," she said. Nothing more was needed. That evening, she attended Willow Creek's Community Technology Fair after receiving the same public invitation sent to local employers. Daniel and Lily stood beside the greenhouse, now fitted with a reliable pump, moisture sensor, and handwritten failure log. Lily demonstrated the system. The pump did not start. Several adults looked embarrassed for her. Lily checked the power, followed the wire, and found a loose connection beneath the table. This happened during transport, she told the judges. The indicator showed no voltage, so I checked the connection before replacing the pump. She tightened it and completed the demonstration. Daniel had arrived 20 minutes early. You saw the whole thing, she said afterward. Every part, including the failure. That was the useful part. I know someone who says that. Claire congratulated Lily without offering a prize, internship, or private opportunity. The fair judges awarded her a blue ribbon for documentation and troubleshooting. Daniel photographed her beside the greenhouse and sent the picture to Maria's parents. Samuel and Mike joined them near the repair shop display. Willow Creek Repair had survived without becoming a branch of Prairie Line. It remained independent, certified, and willing to criticize the company paying some of its invoices. Before the fair ended, Claire asked Daniel to walk with her toward the old pickup. One question from their first day remained unresolved. Claire asked Daniel whether he regretted stopping beside the Mustang. I regret missing the first demonstration, he said. I did not regret making the road safe. Both truths can exist. And the job, it is meaningful. It is also work. It does not turn every sacrifice before it into a secret investment that finally paid. The answer protected the years when no billionaire knew his name. Daniel's dignity had not waited for Claire to discover it. His field knowledge had not become valuable because a board scored it. Recognition changed his opportunities, not his worth. The strongest result belonged to no single hero. Tom reported the first failure. Samuel protected evidence while fearing for payroll. Maya stopped the lot. Sophia challenged Daniel's clip. Priya preserved the inventory record. Rosa corrected his second diagnosis. Claire accepted consequences. Daniel told the truth when both the company's product and his own repair failed. Grant had believed leadership meant controlling which facts reached the room. The people who rebuilt Prairie Line proved the opposite. Strong systems did not depend on a perfect leader. They allowed an apprentice, a mechanic, a farmer, or an analyst to stop the story before a convenient ending replaced the truth. When the fair closed, Daniel carried Lily's greenhouse toward the same old pickup drivers once mocked on County Road 9. The rust remained above the wheel. The drawing on the dashboard had faded. Neither needed replacement to prove the life inside the truck had grown. Lily placed the blue ribbon beside her mother's note. Do you think people will remember the project? She asked. Some will. More important, you know how to build the next one. They drove home beneath a wide Texas sky, past farms where repaired controllers kept water moving through the heat. Kindness had started the story, but kindness alone had not solved it. Evidence, accountability, consent, and the courage to expose failure carried it to the end. True dignity was not refusing every payment, hiding every ambition, or remaining small enough to look humble. It was accepting fair opportunity without selling silence, admitting error without surrendering worth, and using success to make the next overlooked voice harder to ignore.